where do you see media, sports media, going as someone that came into the ranks as, I guess, a writer to now, like, bro, I'm never writing anything. I'm just not. It's just
It
not
takes
my,
a skill.
It does. It does. I can't formulate 140 character, 280 character tweets without like fucking up something.
Yeah. It's an art.
I still don't know the difference between effect and effect. I don't. I'm being honest with you. You know how many times?
That's a common one. To be fair.
You know how many times I've asked people about perspective and prospective? I don't know. It's just I'm an asshole. I'm an idiot. I don't know. I think I bring something to the table. It's just not writing.
Yeah.
So as someone who came into the ranks as a writer, as a journalist, you've heard people say about how newspaper is dying. No one's reading anything.
Print
is dying. Yeah, everything is electronic. How do you feel about this transition now where like podcasting is blowing up? Now there's over 1 million Apple podcasts right now registered. Just like the evolution of media, how do you navigate through it as someone who, I guess you kind of have to pivot your shit too. Like writing is still important and at its core it's what you're about, but also like, yo, I need to be in front of a camera. I need to do a podcast, have my voice heard.
You gotta use design, like GIFs, for instance. Like you gotta be creative with that.
Bro, by the way,
yeah,
I fucking love that shit.
Yeah, that's like one of the things I really caught on because it's a cool concept.
It's tremendous, bro. I love it. And like, just know that I get a wild sensation in my body whenever it's something Julio just running routes and sending corners out of
he torched Denver. Oof. But I think it started especially in 2017, and this was the first time it was a little scary for me, just trying to understand it when Fox Sports basically said we're getting rid of our entire editorial staff. We're not writing, period. We're going all digital, which ended up being kind of a bad move on their part. But even you saw at ESPN, like 2017 was the first time I saw massive layoffs within the industry, and a lot of it came from an editorial base. It's like, look, we're focusing more on digital. We're focusing more on podcasting. That's kind of where we're getting the most revenue. Like, it's just the discrepancies huge when it comes to numbers. Like when I was working at Billboard in 2018, they were showing me just how much more buzz they get from whether it be tweets showcasing, podcasts, an interview, whether it be audio or video, or just something like a documentary of an artist, whatever. Like it's just people gravitate to more, whether it be 5 minutes long or 15 minutes long. They just like the visual effects of it. They like the presentation, and they also know it's like right through there. Like, I don't know, it just creates more engagement. Like you're seeing things come right at you rather than scrolling down. And maybe there's times where it could be like the storytelling could be a little bit too over the top, or it's kind of samey. Like, I don't know, something about visual people just get more excited for. So that's kind of things I've had to take into account and try to get more comfortable with it, because even though I'm a writer at heart, one thing about sports media is like you got to be versatile. If you're not versatile, you're kind of gonna just fade away. Even guys that are older, like I know people in their like 60s and 70s, they came into the industry and they're back in the 70s and 80s, they've been covering, they were covering Roger Staubach and Joe Namath, and then they went to eventually, Warren Moon or whatever. I know I'm just passing on total right. But there are guys that, okay, they have their experience, they have their 30 years, they don't really have to acclimate because look, they got their following, they got their audience, and I think they're pretty content with what they're doing. But people at our age now, it's like we're not content, we're just trying to evolve, we're still pushing. So that's where you kind of have to look at what's trending and what are some of the more cool aspects, what's developing, whether it be the draft, for instance. Like, people understand how big the draft is, whether it's football or basketball. Just analyzing players and putting together these breakdowns, that's big. And of course we know regular season, just professional sports as itself. But you just have to look at different avenues and kind of use graphics, and then also using like video software and just putting together like this cool concept, because you put something together, next thing you know, you could get like 70,000 views and people want more, and then who knows who could be calling. Like, there might be actual professional teams that want to work with you. So that's what, the beauty of Twitter is.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you hit on a lot of topics there about like, the viral moment. Everyone seems to think that viral moment is going to change things for you. And it might.
It could be a building block. That's how I look at it.
It could. Yeah. It could. Like, fucking that dude Dogface, right? Like he drank that cranberry juice and he's on the skateboard, and now this guy is he blew the fuck up just off that, But I didn't know this. He was creating content for a while before that. That just happened to be the one that caught on to it. I had a video go viral, got like 3.2 million views on like Instagram and Twitter. My Daniel Jones.
Okay, that's what I was gonna guess. Yeah.
Video, but like I got like 500 to 600 followers off that.
Yeah.
I got some more downloads on the podcast following. Some people stayed. Next video I put up got like 120 likes.
Right.
Not 1,000, just 120.
Right.
So it's understanding what works. Like sometimes dumb shit is what catches on. I think with the evolving and especially with us podcasting, I still don't think it's hit its ceiling, bro. Still don't think podcasts have really gotten to the point where I think it's going to go. Like I really do think that the Joe Rogans of the world, Bill Simmons, Charlemagne the God, who have launched their own networks, and then like big multimedia companies are coming in and like buying the rights to them.
Right.
Like that's where I think the future of podcasting goes. And you know what you were mentioning before about you don't want clickbait stuff. You don't want to hop on a trend, though you might follow it a little bit just to see if it works for you.
That's
or
all about
not.
personality, though.
Right.
Yeah.
You also don't want to be inauthentic, right? Like everything that I promote or talk about, it's things that I care about. That's why I think it resonates with people. I mean, the people that I listen to and I'm a fan of, it's people like that. You know, I've had multiple companies that want to sponsor things, but it's like my demographic is 18 to 35. You know, more girls are listening to the shows now than before.
Nice.
And it's like I'm not gonna fucking promote some like erectile dysfunction thing. Like it's like
I've heard that be promoted a little bit too.
yeah, it's like, you know, sometimes you have to, and I get that, but for the most part, it's just like being authentic to your brand and your audience, because then eventually when you do tell people to go somewhere, they go and do it. Like when I write in the Discord on the people that are in the Discord for the show, and I tell them like, hey man, can you guys retweet this or repost it? Bro, within 5 minutes, it's like 20 retweets right off the bat. And then the algorithm drives it up a little bit more and whatnot. Or I'll drop a link from the Instagram that I want promoted. But they also know that I don't do this all the time. Like I don't ask them to go and repost something I don't ask everyone to do it for every episode. Right, the Narcos episode, when I had the guys that fucking took down Pablo Escobar, I was like, hey, can you guys like promote that? That'd be really cool for me to do that. Or like if I have like when we had Ariel Hawani on, like you know, like if it's something extreme and dope like that, like I want more eyes to see it, and I want to make an emphasis of it being promoted in a certain way. But I do think that the future of podcasting, and I've been talking a lot about that the last couple of episodes, because I really want to show people that it's still not where it's going.
Because to me, it took off in 2013. That's when I really saw it grow. So you have to look at it in a way. It's like, okay, it's 7 years now. So with more time and more companies investing in, like you mentioned the networks before, I think that's where we're going to see it, I guess, grow, where, you know, you want to see what the structure is going to be like, you know, what actual sponsors get more, because you obviously see a lot of sponsors, and sponsors are the main driving force behind it when it comes to, you know, getting that, you know, revenue. And so I'm curious about that as well. Just, you know, how many more? Because you look at what Spotify is doing. Spotify is taking huge investment into it. Like they're really putting, like when you saw the Joe Rogan deal, it was like, whoa, okay, that's a bit of a game changer. Yeah. And then what Charlemagne, like you mentioned before, he's doing with the Black Effect Network. And now they're getting actual shows on board, like things that weren't necessarily on podcasts, but now they're kind of, because the thing is, like, you could turn videos into podcast. That's why podcast is kind of like a vague term when you look at it. Like, I love, favorite thing right now I'm watching, been watching for a bit, All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. I can't say enough good things about those dudes. They're kind of like a show that was just on Showtime, but now they could convert into a podcast with audio. So that's why it doesn't exactly have to be a podcast. It could just be, you know, you could be your own studio and post a video, but you know, there's people out there, you know, millions, that if they're commuting, and whether they're driving or taking the train, you know, me taking the train, you know, I have an hour and 15. I just want to put my headphones in, and that's how I'm going to get my content, and that's how I'm going to become educated, or how I'm going to laugh.
I don't like telling people that I do a podcast. I tell them I do a show.
Okay.
I have a brand.
Yeah.
I feel like podcast limits you. Like I remember hearing this analogy one time. Eric Thomas said, if you write a book, don't say you write a book. You wrote a book. Say you're an author, because an author means that more things are coming.
Right.
You wrote a book. It's like, all right, that could be it. Whereas if I tell people you have a podcast, like, nah, man, there's video, there's a studio now, there's editors, there's
segments, yeah.
There's promotion, there's a network backing it, there's a lot of shit that goes into it, and it's just creating more out of one thing. Like in the past, it was just audio. Now it's like, all right, man, let's put it on the YouTube channel. Let's also cut it up and promote 5-6 clips that we think are funny, interesting, thought-provoking, promote them on Instagram and Twitter, and you just drive content back to the podcast, which at its core, that is the bread getter for the show. That is really what is paying the bills. But there's other ways to create content. Like this podcast that us two are doing, it's going to be on the YouTube channel. There's going to be clips. There's going to be minute-long clips. There's going to be segments broken up. Like before you know it, there's going to be like 20 pieces of content out of 1 hour-long conversation.
Exactly.
So that's the evolution of it. I tell people that I kind of work with at Blue Wire, I'm like, man, if you have, even if you're doing Zoom, like a lot of people are doing Zooms, right? Because like there's people that, you know, like my buddy Cody, who does Full Slate, the betting podcast. I've had him on before. He's in New York. His buddy is in Virginia, I think. Right. It's like, obviously they can't do a fucking in studio because of the commute, but it's like, yo, you know, do it on Zoom, save it on Zoom, cut up a clip or two, right? Like you just create more content. So that's kind of where I'm at with the whole content creator business, you know, turning shit into a brand. I do think that someone like you, man, I really like that you've really carved out that lane with the gifts.
Right. That's something where you're using software, because I think software is so important to know, especially with companies. Like they want you to know whether it's Adobe Creative Suite, Photoshop, InDesign, or like Giphy software that I use. Or if you're working in the marketing field, it's like HubSpot, MailChimp. Like it's just so much software out there that you could use to enhance your brand or enhance the company's brand, depending on what your position is. And I think that's what you have to use. That's why I think the tech world in general is just so fascinating, because you don't know what's going to be developed that could just really exponentially grow. Like you see different apps being developed, and it could really help your daily life. You know, it could be something as simple as Lyft, or it could be something like a Blue Apron. Like you just see so many things being developed, and you kind of have to use it to your advantage. Like some people look at apps and it's just like, oh, just more money going to be spent. But like, no, this for efficiency purposes, this could really benefit your life. And that's how I kind of look at it when it comes to using different sorts of software, or using, you know, social media networks. It's just like trying to take things and applying it, and just, you know, show it to audiences, but also giving them a fresh perspective of it. Like I'm not going to just take something and, you know, take someone else's opinion and use it. It's like, no, it's got to be organic. You know, I want to like actually take a deep dive into it and give them some sort of, you know, words that, you know, will inform them and then make them want to see more of it, because it's a consistent thing, you know, when I do, whether it's GIFs or, you know, different sorts of videos.